Shalom, 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 shalom. First and foremost, giving infinite praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'ashem El Shah Ba'ashem Hakodash, giving double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone, shalom and salutation to you sincere Akims across the four winds, pushing this truth with sincerity of heart. I'm your fellow servant, Kasam Gun from the DC camp, coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem El Shah Ba'ashem Hakodash, to feed the elect. In this video, this is another edition of the Watchtower. And the subtitle will be "The King of the Medes Speaks." You better pay attention. This is out of the Washington Post. It just came out. It says Putin slams cancel culture and trans rights, calling teaching gender fluidity crime against humanity. And so basically, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, he's totally against this madness that's going on. Of course, you got to understand the Russians are also Edomites as well, okay? And the reason why they're coming against the Edomites in the U.S. is part of the downfall of Edom Esau. A house divided against itself cannot stand. That's a part of it. But also you have the part of the prophetical aspect of it, as far as the role that he and the other kings of the Medes, okay? When I said the reason why I said that, the other kings of the Medes, although he could very well be D Darius, and I'll go into that through the spirit, because I believe through the spirit he's a reincarnation of one of the many Darius of the ancient media. When you go back to the Persians and the Medes, and the takedown of ancient Babylon. All right, because everything is coming back. Everything. A lot of these things are being reincarnated. The actions, the souls. Now the places may be different, and the names may be different, but it's the same spirits and the same actions that are going to take place. Okay, so let's read what this man said. All right, it says Russian President Vladimir Putin again attacked Western liberalism in a fiery address on Thursday. Because remember, Western liberalism really is that not really new, it's that mindset, it's that worldly, wicked, abominable mindset. Because as you know, righteousness really only the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans could be righteous, because righteousness is according to the law, statutes, commandments of the Heavenly Father, whose name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, and his son, whom the world ignorantly known as Jesus Christ. His name is Yahweh Shah. Righteousness is according to the laws, statutes, commandments of the Hebrew Israelites, all enveloped under something called faith, meaning believing in the power and its laws. Okay, so anything else that you do, any actions that's taken that's opposite to that, it's straight up wickedness. Okay. Is wickedness, and amongst wickedness, because you have sins that are unto death, and then you got sins that are not. So and the sins that are unto death, a lot of times you got a lot of those sins that are also called abomination, things that are so disgustingly abnormal. That's why they call abominations. Okay, they're disgusting in the sight of God and in the sight of men. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what he's going against. Okay, that's the king of the Medes. He's going against it, and he's not the only one. That's actual how a lot of these nations feel about the westernized mentality, right? And also how it's destroyed, us. See, that's the thing. The nations see, they're like, hold up, this mentality has totally destroyed the Negroes and the minorities. They know it says minorities, but as of now, they should already know. The whole world already knows. You know what I'm saying? Whether they want to acknowledge it or not, that, hey, man, listen, those Israelites, right? The Hebrew Israelites, man, they've been destroyed by this mentality, man. Look at their families. Their families trash. The women are out of order. The sons are turning into women. The women turning into men. So all of this liberalism, they kind of anti-liberalism over there, man. And the thing is that it's very important to understand that these things are going to matter big time when it comes to going to war in this Third World War. Okay, because when you don't agree in ideologies, you don't agree economically, you don't agree socially. I mean, there's the separation is so deep, and it's so far apart that all it takes is the right setup, aka Israel and Iran, and this thing's gonna pop off, man. So it says, speaking at the annual meeting of the Valdai Discussion Club in a Black Sea resort in Sochi, Putin stressed that his country should adhere to his own spiritual values and historical traditions, while steering clear of social cultural disturbances in the West. Some Westerners believe the aggressive deletion of whole pages of their own history. He's talking about us. He's talking about doing away with books about our enslavement and us getting our ass kicked for 500 years. That says reverse discrimination against the majority in the interest of the minority. So he's talking about affirmative action now. Constitute movement toward public renewal. Putin said it's their right, but we are asking them to steer clear of our home. We have a different viewpoint. So you see, ideologically, they're so far apart. You know, financially they're far apart. So these are warnings. These are warnings. You may not, because things are so politically now in the realm of war. Things are so political. Things didn't used to be this political back in the ancient times. Back in the ancient times, this was a warning to stay away from my kingdom or you're going to get the business. You know what I'm saying? But now you can't talk like that because you got to put this, the theater, this theater that has to go on, and you have some major forces like the international bankers, they're heavily involved in being puppeteers and all that. That's why people, rulers can't really come out and be all the way honest with what they want to do. So it's just some weird stuff, man, that goes on in modern day warfare and modern day geopolitics, man. Totally different from the ancient times. It says, Putin, who told the Financial Times of London newspaper in 2019 that liberalism had become obsolete, has loudly advocated for what he considers to be traditional family values. Which, once you say these words, traditional family values, you got a whole group of people that we already know, the alphabet, you talking about even Black Lives Matter. They actually had to remove the statement out of their website because everybody keyed onto the fact that the website of Black Lives Matter stated that one of the things that they wanted to destroy was the traditional family setup, which consists of a man, a woman, and children, if you're talking about the destruction of primarily the tribe of Judah on down to the rest of the tribes, really, it really became evident that our downfall was when the man was taken out of the household and the woman was made independent of the man. So therefore, the woman becoming feminine and masculine both at the same time, which makes it impossible for a man to be masculine because he's sleeping in bed. He's sleeping in bed with a woman who, instead of being feminine, is also masculine. And remember, the duality of masculinity and femininity in one entity goes back to what? The spirit of Baphomet, which is the androgynous demon, right? That brings about those two emotions, I would say, these two natural emotions in the same entity. So I'm gonna keep going. It says, in his Thursday remarks, he said the notion that children taught. He said the notion that children are taught that a boy can become a girl and vice versa is monstrous and on the verge of a crime against humanity. Wow. Damn, he used the word monstrous. You know what I'm saying? So, that guy don't play. That's why I said it's the king of the Medes. This ain't the king of Babylon. This ain't the king of fucking Germany. Nah, man. This is how the king of the Medes speaks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's some wow. You know what I'm saying? No PC, baby. No PC. It said he also suggested that transgender rights supporters with demanding an end to basic things such as mother, father, family, or gender differences, which I spoke about that. The authoritarian leader, see, that's how they call him, the authoritarian leader, because you always got to make dictatorship look awful, but promote pseudo democracy, because this ain't really democracy. Right? If you had a true democracy, then it would be literally everybody voting and everybody. But come on, you have the way the system is set up, man. Come on, man. It's a pseudo democracy, and democracy is garbage because you have people that are not in their right mind. Why are they voting? You know what I'm saying? They're not in their right mind. So it's a lot of, but that's a video for some, that's for a different time. It says the authoritarian leader has sought to portray himself as a symbol of virile masculinity. They got a problem with that. Yeah, because he's always the king of the Medes, Vladimir Putin. He's always put forward. The man was a former KGB, which is still KGB. I mean, you don't never end. It's like CIA agent. He never stopped being CIA. You know what I'm saying? He's former head of KGB. Like the guy, he's a warrior. He fights. He trains. You know what I'm saying? He trains with soldiers. In their training facilities. I mean, he is probably. I'm talking about hand-to-hand combat. He is probably the strongest leader of any country on the planet Earth right now. Meaning, if you go to the top and say, who's your president? Who's your leader? I'm sure Putin can kick his ass. You feel me? So, that's the reason why they got a problem with that. It says, for instance, by being photographed shirtless on horseback while ramping up a state-led pressure campaign on sexual minorities in Russia. Right, so he's, instead of wearing a dress like over here, over here in Babylon, in the Virgin Daughter of Babylon, the men wear dresses, man. So that's how everything is moving over here, man. That's liberalism, baby. It says Putin rules a country where there have been numerous credible reports of the torture and imprisonment of gay men. Damn. In 2013, he signed an anti-gay propaganda law that Human Rights Watch said prompted increased hostility towards LGBT communities and made it harder for children to access information about non-traditional relations. The effect has been particularly profound in schools where some Russian teachers characterize LGBT people as a symptom of perversion imported from Western Europe or North America, the Rights Watchdog said. So I'm going to scroll down. It says, Putin's rhetoric is not dissimilar to those of many right-wing populist leaders in Eastern Europe and the United States who have targeted sexual minorities in an attempt to show up support. The Thursday remarks reflect effort to rally hardcore conservatives and supporters of traditional values around Putin, wrote Tatiana Stanovaya, head of the Moscow-based politic think tank on a Telegram channel. But yeah, I'm gonna stop right here, man. I mean, but it's a good article. The reason why I bought this is because it's pretty obvious that the rift between Babylon and the Virgin Daughter of Babylon, the United States, and Russia, aka on the Medes, or Gog and Magog, because that's the modern day Medes, modern day Gog and Magog. Is so deep and it's on all levels. And one thing about warfare, it's a lot easier to destroy your enemies when you have nothing in common. That's the reason why these statements are very important. It's a lot harder to go to war with an individual that you have the same ideologies or you have any type of common something that you can relate. But when you can't relate, you could press that button, without thinking twice. And that's very important because that's what's going to take place in the Star Wars war. That's why, these thermonuclear missiles are going to be shot at, and people are not going to worry about the fact that millions of people are going to die, are going to perish, because they're going to think that, hey, I'm destroying their ideology. Scorched earth type mentality. So when we say that the Third World War is going to be nuclear, we're not joking, man. It's serious. All right. This is Vladimir Putin. It says, of course, the man born. There's a reason why I want to bring this out. It says the man born 69 years old, October, 1952, and just learn about the kings that the Heavenly Father are gonna bring about to the Valley of Jehoshaphat for this Third World War, because them bringing the troops to the battle is their judgment for all of them, even including Russia, even including Vladimir Putin. All of them are involved into the oppression of the nation of Israel. So they all gonna be judged. Ain't none of them righteous. Ain't none of them righteous. It's just certain Edomites are just worse than others, but they all the devil that the Bible speaks of. Okay, and they're all going down. So at the end of the day, we rejoice when we see our enemies get ready to bump heads, as it says in the scriptures. This is Sirach, Ecclesiasticus of the Apocrypha, chapter 39, verse 1. It says, "But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecy." So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the number one thing in this gospel is still being occupied in prophecy, and seek the wisdom of the ancient, because everything is always about the future. Like, it's ultimately about the future. We go into the past, we go into the history because we have to, and then we go into the future, and then that's how we understand the present. But the future is always going to be the most important thing, in existence, in life, even in the gospel. And the future is prophecy, is knowing what's going to happen before it happens, and warning the elect so they could prepare. They could prepare themselves for the destruction, the death, and then the salvation. This is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. And look at the subtitle, Babylon, right? Which Isaiah the 13th chapter, Isaiah is not referring to ancient Babylon, because the things that he's describing in this whole chapter did not take place in the ancient Babylonian Empire. Those details, it did not take place. It didn't go down like that in ancient Babylon. So what Babylon was he talking about? He was talking about the future Babylon. All right, the Babylon that was prophesied to come in the latter days. He was talking about the United States. And he said Babylon, and look, the subtitle says Babylon will fall to the Medes. Who are the modern day Medes? The modern day Medes are the Russians, man. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." And that's what I said. Their ideologies are so far apart from socially, well, they said spiritually, but I mean, they all Edomites, but socially, economically. Those are the main two things. Socially and economically, their ideologies are so far apart. You know what I'm saying? They're natural enemies. It says, verse 18, "Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces." Those bows are the modern day bows are what? The modern day bow and arrows are what? It's these thermonuclear missiles and these silos, man. That's what they are. It says, "Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb." So they're not going to think, oh man, once we push the button, there's going to be so many dead in a virgin daughter of Babylon, the U.S. It's going to be so many dead in the land of Israel. They're not going to care about that, man. Because when your ideology is different than another man's ideology, his life pretty much doesn't matter to you. That's why customs and ideology and your belief, your following, that's why it's so important. It's not a joke. That's why people die for what they believe. Okay? Because your life hangs on what you believe. It's always been like that. Okay? It says, okay, so. Oh, wow, okay. Well, verse 19, "In Babylon, aka the United States, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and the Most High manifested fire in the atmosphere, man, and burnt Sodom and Gomorrah." And that's factual. You can still go into that place right now and see, the remnants and burnt that area being burnt up. So now let's go to the map right quick. I'm about the map in a minute, which is beautiful, man. Getting back into some prophetical things. Of course, the map of the Medes, ancient Media. When you go back, you see right there at the top. Let me see if I can focus on it. As you see, you have Media and you have Persia, right? Those are two empires that came together, two different nationalities. The Persians are the Elamites, okay? The Persians are so-called Iranians and Pakistanis and all that. Those are the ancient Persians. But in that particular time in history, they merged together with the Media, ancient Media, which the original Medes, as far as nationality, were actually Japhites, going back to the Scythians, right? The Scythians, which were of Japhet, men that were really good with bow and arrows. They merged with Persia, became an empire, and took down what? Ancient Babylon. That's just historical facts. Now, through the Spirit, that combination is coming back again to take down modern day Babylon. And the main spearhead of the Medo-Persian Empire was actually the Medes, going back to Darius. Okay? And when I say Darius, it was multiple Darius. It just wasn't one. So when I say Darius, I'm just talking about the seat, the name that's the name that's given to who's sitting on that seat. All right. So now, this is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11. It says, "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh Shemashah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes," meaning the multiple Dariuses. Okay, and the Darius of our age is who? Is Vladimir Putin, man. It says, "For his devices against Babylon." And Jeremiah the 50 and Jeremiah 51 is straight up about the United States of America. It's straight up prophecy as far as like what's taking place now and what's going to take place in the future. It says, "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon, to destroy it, to destroy it, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple." All right, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord has both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. Okay. Jeremiah 51. Which one was it? Jeremiah 51 and there you go. Jeremiah 51 and 28. It says, "Prepare against her," Babylon, the United States, "prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion." Okay. "And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon," aka the U.S., "to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant." And the only way to do that, you got to have a weapon that's going to be scorched earth. And the only weapon that can scorch earth is the thermonuclear missiles. It's thermonuclear capabilities, man. Which, Russia, I mean, come on, man. Like, that's not even, you already know what's up when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? And this is going back to ancient Babylon. When ancient Babylon was taken down by the Medes, that combination, remember the writing on the wall, when Daniel 5 and 28, it says, actually says 26, said, "This is the interpretation of the thing. Many, the most God has numbered thy kingdom and finished it," meaning the days of the rulership of ancient Babylon at the time came to an end. It says, "Thou art weighed in the balance and are found wanting," meaning what? Your actions, the enslavement of the Israelites, all the wickedness, all of these things have been weighed. The Most High has weighed your actions. And guess what? Yeah, the wanting right there mean pending. It's kind of like when you owe something, then you gotta pay. You got debts. That's what it means. You found wanting. You got debts, and when you got debts, it's somebody got to collect. And the Most High said, "Well, guess what? It's time to collect on you." And how did he collect? Verse 28, "Thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians." And that's the same thing that's going to happen now, man. The kingdom is divided right now. You can see the kingdom is divided right now, man. You can see the left and right, Republicans, Democrats, they're at each other's throats. They're ready to go into a full-blown civil war. Because the Most High is collecting on Babylon, man. right? And he's setting up the king of the Medes to be ready, right along with the Persians, Iranians, you know, and they're going to hurt this place with thermonuclear missiles, according to the Bible. This ain't just wishful thinking. This is prophecy. This is scary, man, because we in this land talking about this land in which we stand right now. It's going to be a point in time where it's just going to look like a lake of fire. You don't want to be caught out here when this thing happens. You know what I'm saying? And then when you go down to the last verse, it says, and Darius the Median, right? The king Darius of Medes at the time took the kingdom. It said being about 62 years. I saw it was like 60, 2 years. That's 62. I'm like, man, fucking Putin 69. Again, you can say it's a reach. I don't think it's a reach. There's no coincidences. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these kings of our age are not really young men. They're usually men of older. So it's all spiritual. It's all connected. You know what I'm saying? It's all connected, man. So basically, that's all I want to bring forth, man. Putin is you know, he's serious, man. And he's the Darius of our age, man. So with that, I'm going to say, Kyle Halayim La Yehovah Shemel Shad, the bonus to our apostles, elders, great millstone, Shalom salutation. Jesus said, Akins, across the four winds, stay strong, stay watchful. Yehovah Shem Shabbat Katam, Bashma Hakudah, Shalom.